Hello everyone and welcome to the LSI F1.5 EU Championship. We're here for the Brazilian Grand Prix and sprint qualifying is currently upon us. Frantic on top of the times. We've got Wayne in P2 and PJ in P3. Terence in P5 as it's Yunori trying to switch positions between the Haas and the Alpino. It's as close as it's ever going to be. Frantic has to run up the hill. Do they have the top speed? Do they have the ERS to get them to the line? Frantic across the line. What's it going to be? And it's going to be a 7.843 pole position by a couple of tenths in the end. And that was a massive, massive advantage all the way to the line. A brilliant exit puts the Dutchman on top. Not the championship leader anymore, but definitely showing some good pace today so far. Frantic, PJ, Wayne, it's Yunori and Terence in P5. That's the rest of the grid. We'll be back in a minute for the sprint race. Ready, hold, go! Who's going to get it into turn one? Frantic as the outside line, but the advantage is to the Aston Martin on the inside. Oh, there's a big crash in the background as the Ferrari goes off. It's the Haas trying to sweep through. Someone's off at turn one as well. And there's another car as well. What is happening? Further behind, well, it's Frantic and PJ with Elwayne in P3 and Audi in the Williams. And they're splitting away massively from Sulkin and Terence, making their way up the order. And we've got damage from a few cars. What's going on here? That's damage surely on the, yes it is, on the Sauber Verf. The Red Bulls round. Terence is off at turn four. What happened to Terence all of a sudden? They're completely off, and that is Bonsai out of the race. An interesting collision, which we don't usually see very often, but that is that done for them. And no safety car deployed. We just continue driving. It's Frantic leading the way over PJ and then Elwayne in P3. We've got Yunori, Sulkin making their way up the order massively and on the hard tyre, looking to go quicker later on in this sprint race. Terence having that big off. But do they have a full front wing? They do. Whereas the cars directly in front of them, not so similar stories. Burns did really have a very good race in Spain, just a little bit of bad luck here and there. Now they have damage to their car. It was Gledio who had that big moment off the line, and then we've got way 1 minute, no damage for them, no damage for Jericho Willis, but there's damage for Verf. Edvid didn't have the greatest start either, with an end plate missing too, trying to fight for their championship chances. Sulkin catching up to the pack now, as Yunori's actually dropped back very slightly. Elwayne and PJ chasing down the race leader. Frantic with that brilliant start, and the top two stay as they are. The top three, I should say, as Elwayne gave it a good old shot. And we will have a look at the gap just to see. There it is. The top 4 stay as they are. Solkin makes 7 positions. Edvir makes progress at 2. With 1, it's Verf and then Jericho Willis. And that's where it all goes well for those guys. It went a little bit downhill for everybody else with the damage, of course, although that being said, Edvir's doing a brilliant job to be in the position that they're in. We've got a bit of a battle going on here as we see Solkin make the move on Unoli, and it's Edvir switching positions with Verf as both drivers have one M plate missing, and they're now being hunted by Jericho Willis, who's got a full front wing to be using. Would they go for the move? Well, they're looking to use the battery. It's defensive slightly for Edvir. It's braking incredibly late, and there's going to be contact, and that's both cars off the circuit. And it's not going to be ideal, but that's how it's gone. Edvir's not going to be happy with that one. Jericho Willis not entirely happy with maybe the movement from Edvir before the braking zone, and that's why they went for the move. Not necessarily the best way of getting it done, because it wasn't done in the end, but they will be able to have another go as long as everything is safer next time around. That is as close as it's going to get without having a major issue. 2 cars just go off the circuit then. Yanoli trying to hold on to the DRS of Solkin, the higher tier driver. And there it is. Opens rear wing. And they will catch back up. And there's no way of Solkin catching up with the train. But there is. As these guys fight side by side now. Elwain trying to have a look at PJ. But no, nothing's going to come of it. Now no battery to deploy anymore. It is going to be a bit more of a struggle. And it is actually now Solkin going to have a good chance of catching up. But that does mean there's a big risk for Elwain to lose the train as PJ follows Frantic in DRS as well themselves. That is Edvir getting a time penalty. The first time penalty of the evening. And they also got passed by Jericho Willis, so experiencing the dirtier with 1M plate is going to be why that happened. Very tough to take, but they're still in this race. They're currently looking at scoring a couple of points. If you take away the higher tier drives of Jericho Willis, Verf and Solkin, you get promoted all the way to 5th place, so they will score a fair few points. Frantic looking to score the full 8 if they can. Solkin is in the train. PJ closing up to Frantic, but not in a position to make a move. Competing for that top spot, if they dare. Sitting behind the Dutchman. Jericho Willis and Verf chasing each other as they try and catch up to the cars ahead as well. But PJ definitely putting that pressure on. It's a 3-second though to the driver, and they're going to be struggling massively, especially with a close battle like this. It's a big mistake. That's way 1 minute, unfortunately having an issue. Now they're racing directly with the 2 Red Bulls, but with that damage his teammate catches back up to him after making a mistake. That was Terence spinning at turn 4 in the opening lap, but now they're back in it, looking to try and make some progress. Remember, the higher tier drivers are ahead, so effectively Terence has got 1 point on the board at the moment. There's a switch between Solkin and Elwain. Will we see a move from Burns to go on way 1 minute? I don't think we're going to see anything switch up between these guys. Oh, we are. We're going to see the inside line for Terence, as they just have to let their teammate go with that front wing to assist them in the move. Is Terence now going to have a chance at going for the second move with a little bit of battery to use? The inside line's going to be their only option, but they're not going to brake late enough to get there, and they'll just have to wait behind for now. Frantic still holds on. And that was Bonsai crashing earlier on in the race. That's our first retirement, and they say their wheel wasn't working. That would explain a lot of things after that big incident. Left us stunned, to be honest, of what was going on. just over the halfway mark of this Grand Prix. It's PJ once again turning the battery off by the time they get to the end of the straight, but still using a decent amount to stay with the Dutchman. Frantic's not finding it easy either. They're still pushing each other to the limit. Is this an attacking opportunity for the Austrian driver? The inside line, the outside. They go to the outside. Frantic defends. No switchback available. And the Aston Martin will just have to stay put for now. Sulkin ready to attack, but obviously as a higher tier driver, they've got to think about this in a smart way. They can't afford to do anything drastic. It's a twitchy Aston Martin car with those tyres. It's pretty tough to drive. And they're only going to get worse, so they've got to keep them in check, otherwise they're going to be in trouble. Sulkin looks for the move. The ERS is being used. It's turned off by PJ, and Sulkin will go to the inside line. And that will be a pretty straightforward move, but there's contact with the back of Frantic as they've just misjudged that one, unfortunately. They're going to now try and look for a move on Frantic, I'm sure, immediately. As it's going to be PJ trying to get possibly the double overtake. No, turning off the battery, Frantic slots in behind and allows the higher tier driver to run through. And into P1, DRS is all of a sudden available to Frantic. Does Frantic have the ability to stay with the racing ball? Would they be able to use Sulkin as a DRS train, effectively? But that would help them defend massively from PJ. And if Sulkin's just trying to drive their own race up in front, then they can't do anything more than that. And it would be completely fair game. Terence, in the meantime, has made that move on way 1 minute. In the middle sector, making some more progress, looking for some more points. 6th place for the current tier for Terence. And now you can see DRS available to Frantic. It means that now it's 6 tenths between PJ and Frantic, and the gap just extends a little bit more than they would have liked. But that's what happens if you're in the DRS train. Sulkin's brought that to 7-8 tenths. Will they be able to escape a little bit more in the middle sector? Is Frantic going to still be able to use this advantage to the end of the Grand Prix? Well, that's PJ making a mistake, and PJ's now broken away. Elwain gets released, but it's a 0.6 second gap. Unfortunately, now splitting the cars, and DRS is very much lost. PJ's going to have some pretty hot tyres as well. I said those tyres look twitchy. They've got to keep them in check. It's not happened, and now they've suffered. Will they be able to catch back up to the Haas car, or is it all a little bit over? And now the battles have just split up. Frantic, 7 hits behind, gets DRS, and is going to be holding on nicely behind the rear of Sulkin. Around a circuit like this, when DRS is quite strategically placed, allowing you to catch up, it's pretty nice. That's going to be Jericho Willis making the move on the Williams car, leaving minimal space but getting the job done. Losing the rear left and right, as Yunori might even have a look at making the move back again. They're going to use the battery. They then back off, and so does Jericho Willis as they realise the situation, and they stay in front. Burt has not been able to do the same thing, as they were passed by Jericho Willis, of course, with the lack of a front wing from the LSI F1 Championship contender, although we didn't see them race last weekend. And they've definitely lost their footing in the championship battle now. Up 11 out of 12. And we begin the final stages. All the battles have broken up slightly. And we look to see Frantic to take another victory. Unfortunately, as we were just going to go and watch the battle between Way 1 Minute and Bernst, it's going to be Way 1 Minute having an issue and spinning, promoting Bernst up a position. Gladio had a very tough race today. It's really frustrating to see that happen to them earlier on, but they had to make that pit stop, and also another bit of front wing damage. It's just the way it goes, and they get a second chance in the main race from being disqualified in Monza, not making it to the last race, and now here giving it their best shot. Sulkin leads the way and will start the final lap with Frantic losing DRS now. It's going to be Elwain in P2, and they've got pressure from PJ. This is the battle that we have to watch. This is what makes the difference. Everybody else, except from Unodi and Jericho Willis, in DRS range, or out of DRS range. DRS between Unodi and Jericho Willis wouldn't affect the point scoring position, but this would. PJ makes the move. It's the inside line for Elwain. Is it too late to say sorry though? Are they going to be able to get a switch back, or are they going to make the move up to the line? Well, a mistake through turn 3 prevents them from getting any ideas of going for a move into turn 4. They still use the battery, and now PJ turns it off. They charge as well. Wayne's got to get this move done up to the line, otherwise PJ is done. Sulkin is going to look at taking victory for the overall championship. Frantic for their sprint race in F1.5 EU, but it's PJ and Elwain who sought the position for P2 out between them. It's not going to be straightforward though, that's for sure. It's going to go up to the wire, as we saw yesterday. Saving the battery in the middle sector. That's a mistake once more for Bernst. Unfortunately, it's going to be Way 1 Minute getting back through on the driver. But here we go. Frantic comes around the final corners, and they will win the Brazilian Grand Prix sprint race. It's PJ and Elwain up to the line. How's it going to go for the Haas car as they use everything they possibly can? It's going to be PJ who gets there in the end. A brilliant job. It's Jericho Willis, it's Yanaldi, and it's Verf in P7. We see Edfear with the damage, hoping for a second try in the main race, and so will Terence, but scoring points at least. They're going to be pretty happy with that one. Just 9/10 away from Edver in the end on time penalties. Way 1 Minute going to be looking at scoring a few as well. Into P7 they will go for the EU drivers. Bernst will take 1 point as they go into the pit lane, and then Gladio will be at the back of the pack after their troublesome start. Sulkin takes overall victory though, and it's Frantic on top again. It is Sulkin who takes victory. It's Frantic in P2 and Elwain in P3. Then we've got PJ, Jericho, Willis, Yanaldi, Verf, Edvir, Terence, Way 1 Minute, Bernst and Gladio. Bonsai DNFing earlier on due to technical difficulties. They will be back once again for the main race and main qualifying session. We'll be back in about 5 to 10 minutes. We'll see you then. Hello everyone and welcome back to the LSI F1.5 EU Championship. We're here for the Brazilian Grand Prix qualifying session, and Terence has had a big snap of oversteer. We've just seen PJ go fastest, just beating Frantic's previous best in the 7.9 range. Then it's Edvir 8.2, then the man that you're watching right now with an 8.225, but with a big snap of oversteer. Are they really going to be looking at improving here? Well, they have to go all the way down the hill to get to the next sector line to tell us if they are actually going to be improving or not. We'll find out in a few seconds time whether that is going to be the case or not. Through the left and over the line, it's going to be still an improvement. They might even get a bit of a distant toe as they go up the hill as well. No, they're not going to get a toe from that far away. But there it is, using the battery. What's it going to be for Terence as they run it all the way to the end? It's going to be a very slight improvement, and it puts them into P3, a 1.56. It's at least set for now, and they do have time for another run in this session. We've got Leonardi directly behind the McLaren, and then it's Berners in P6. We've got Elwain in P7, away 1 minute, Gledio bonside, and then the 3 higher tier drivers at the back of the field. 10 current tier drivers in one race. If you finish in P last for a higher tier driver, you will still score at least 1 point. Whether that's the case or not when it comes to later on, we will find out closer to the time. Owain looking for a couple of runs on the same tyre here, interestingly. They saved a lot of battery, so they're going again. It's a strategy for sure. How useful is the strategy? I don't entirely know. Especially with this little time left on the clock, 4 minutes. You're not going to want to really do another lap, and they unfortunately lose the car anyway, and I think those tyres were just done for the qualifying runs, and they're going to have to think about what they're going to do for their final attempt here in Sao Paulo. Edvir, the next car out on track, and looking to go faster than before. That being said, Terence is actually pushing up the hill, pushing it all the way to the white line, and then trying to cut as much as you can on the inside once again, and then straighten up that wheel towards the exit curb and get that traction down, which can be oh so difficult around here. Up the hill once more, over the crest as the car is just burning away at the tyres. The final 90 with the big chunky curb on the inside line. Multiple ways you can take it. You can avoid it, you can ride it. It depends on what you want to do and what gear you take. Terence got through it fairly tidy, but goes straight into the pit lane. So we are going to go back on board with the Dutchman, who looks to try and compete for pole position, but they've not got the battery on. So they are looking to do 2 runs on this tyre to warm them up, as that is a strategy that we saw yesterday from a few drivers for sure. Do you want fresh rubber or do you want warm rubber? That's the question, and I think that's what Edvir is looking for. Many drivers may also look for it as well, but we'll find out at a later point. It's way 1 minute right now. The next driver to set their lap time, as long as they're not doing the double strat, but it's Frantic, your pole position contender, into the first corner, braking as late as they possibly can as the track camber just falls away from them through turn 3, going all the way to the left hand side, riding the curve to minimise that track distance, and then slowly bring it to the right hand side as you head towards turn 4, braking around 100 metres, and then back onto the gas as you aim the car to the outside, up the hill once more, and we're just going to go back down it anyway. The right hander shifting to 6th gear to try and use engine braking and minimal braking, if at all any, on the pedals, and dance it through with a little bit of a dab here and there to get that front end turned in. Once again the same thing, and just trying to get as close as you can to this inside curb. if you want to ride it, you can at your own risk. Once again, the final 90, one of the trickiest corners of the circuit. We said yesterday, it's where the car just goes all light and you can't do much about it, but you have to nail this exit all the way onto the straight with the DRS open, otherwise you lose all the speed. What's it going to be for Frantic? This is their pole position attempt and it's a 7.628. Can PJ come back with an answer of that one? I'm not entirely sure. Way 1 minute, P8 for them. They stay where they are. It's going to be Bonsai across the line, P10 right now, and they go to P8. Lovely attempt. It's going to be PJ starting their lap. We've got Elwayne starting as well, and Edvir going across the line. P4 for the minute. What's it going to be? As they do use all their battery up to the line, but they don't improve, and they're down by a quarter of a tenth of a second. And that is it for Edvir. No more tries. A good effort, but just not enough. Terence will give it their best shot as well. We're going to go and have a look at everybody as they come up to the line. It's Solkin to cross the line next, but it will be not Terence, Bernst across the line for the next time, which will be the end of their outlap. Frantic, of course, has already been for their lap, so they're not going to be improving. It is all down to the Aston Martin of PJ to try and get something done as they compete for the pole position, of course. What's it going to be for the Austrian driver? DRS open as they go around the left-hand corner, using all the battery that they've got available, if anything, across the line, and it's not going to be enough. Improving by a tiny margin, half a tenth of a second. We see improvements for Elwayne as well as they cross the line. What's it going to be for the rest of the fielders? We've got Yanoldi across the line as well, using the battery, pinning it to the left, and across the line to P4, an 8.191 in the last moment. Almost there on Terence, but not quite enough in the end. The final Red Bull will go across the line, and actually they are going purple in the middle sector, looking quick with the second chance, not the one-shot qualifying that they struggled with earlier before. This time they'll give it a go. What's it going to be for Burst as they cross the line? And it's going to be a P3 just ahead of their teammate, up by 4.5 tenths of a second, almost in the 7-second range to compete with the top two. That is a brilliant effort, and it's a Red Bull second row lockout. It's Frantic on pole position once more. It's PJ in P2. This is going to be one hell of a race, I am sure. And that is Frantic on pole position, PJ in P2, and Bernison in P3. The race director's on your screen now, just in case. And then we'll be back for the race. We'll see you in a bit. Ready, hold, go! Once again in Brazil, who's going to get it into turn one? The inside line is available, and it's going to be the Aston Martin of PJ with a better launch this time. Will they get the switchback though, that they have to focus into the next few corners? Crashes in the background, I don't know what happened there, but we're actually all fairly nicely through the corner. I say that and I've spoken too soon. PJ not able to get there on frantic, and they have to slot in behind. It's going to be side by side with Sulkin as they make the move on the Williams, as they were fighting earlier on. It's Bonsai once again, now back on track from earlier on, and this time it doesn't look like they're going to go for a straight line up the hill. They do make it through the corner and they're into the race. Let's see what they can do with their second try. Oh, it's going to be a hell of a send by the Haas car as they try and have a go at Gledio, and they're turning in a little bit too early. That is Wayne having that issue going to the back of the pack. That's something that did get noticed, but we weren't quite sure on what the details were, and now we're trying to make progress once more. As Gledio's at the back of the field at the moment, it's Frantic leading the way by 0.7 of a second ahead of PJ, with Terence for pressure, and then of course Bernst as well. The two teammates switching positions off the line with that final moment of madness from Bernst with the qualifying run of a lifetime. Edveer sitting directly behind them this time. Looks like they've got a full front wing and they are really in a good position to compete. But they've got Sulkin, the higher tier driver, already looking to try and make some progress if they can. Yinoldi directly behind as they are fighting once again with Bonsai. They get ahead of the Mercedes this time around, but DRS is nowhere to be found between the cars ahead. Oh, and Bernst unfortunately makes another mistake, and that is once again the Brazilian driver around, and their home Grand Prix has not got any easier. What a shame for Bernst there. I don't know what to say. They're still in this race. It's lap 2 out of 36, and they're only 4 seconds away from the entire field with a full front wing. Do not give up until it's over. PJ holding on nicely, but it's Frantic still going strong in P1 despite DRS being enabled. PJ goes for fastest lap. Yinoldi takes it away just after Sulkin did so a few moments ago, but we go back side by side. It's the Mercedes once again racing. This time it's with Jericho Willis. Jericho Willis is going to tuck into the slipstream and have a look. Is it going to be a battle between P1 and P2? They don't switch, but it's 3 wide for a moment in the background there as we get to see side-by-side moment. It's the Haas having to decide which Sauber to go racing with into turn 4, and they split in the middle and slot in between. One hell of a train we've got going on here. And the gaps are very small on lap 3 at the moment. Some splits here and there with the DRS. Yinoldi trying to hold on to the back of Edveer at the moment, but it's not quite so easy, especially if DRS being enabled for the McLaren, and they will be able to break away. No pressure from PJ into turn 1. They will sit behind as well. We do have a battle though, as we see a switch up as it's Jericho Willis on the inside line of Yinoldi. I don't know if the Williams is actually going to fight that one. They've got the DRS, they're using the battery to come back, but it's Jericho a little bit too far ahead, and they do secure the position. No one further behind is going to be making the move, and they all stay where they are. P1 to P4, all in the train, as Edveer now loses the gap to the other cars. Almost looked like a mistake there. Oh, that is a big lag issue for Terence as Sulkin takes advantage. I hope they didn't just blatantly drive through the Ghost car, but I think it would have just been fair because it would have been confusing. There's a mistake there for Edveer as they push the car. Jericho Willis will make the move, but that rear end on the McLaren is all over the place. And it's Yinoldi who's going to make that move. It's as close as it's going to be through the left-hander. It's a drag race all the way up to the line. DRS available for both drivers, but they are surely going to slot in behind and not do anything about that. It's going to be Verth all the way up to the rear end of the McLaren, catching up and almost causing some sort of issue. In fairness to them, it was Edveer moving across in the braking zone very slightly. I don't think anything noteworthy too much, but definitely something to pick up on if it happens again. We've got a 4-car battle here, a 4-car battle up in front, and then another 4-car battle. We're trying to see if Elwain can catch back up and bring everyone along with them so that we can have an 8-car battle and a 4-car battle. But it's pretty tough. In the meantime, Bernst has caught up a nice gap as they take advantage of the corners of this circuit being quite slow for a collective group of cars. Jericho Willis has found a way to break away. It's Edveer getting pressured by Verth, and they're having to make a move on Yinoldi. Verth is going to follow along with the McLaren, look to the inside line for themselves, and they will brake as late as they dare, and they're going to get that one done for now. Will they hold on to it? That's a phenomenal move from Verth. It's going to be PJ, surely looking for P1, but no, they don't. They don't. It's a switch between Sulkin and the Red Bull of Terence as well. There's the inside line for Elwain, as they are already making progress. From earlier on, we were doubting whether they would have the DRS, and they are very much within it, and they've got the move done on Yinoldi, who's dropped like a stone. Oh, and that's Bonsai down the order. What a shame. That is a progress, first sign of progress at least, for Byrne, isn't? And that is incredible stuff. Edveer, though, dropping down the order as well. What happened to them? Plummeting a few positions. And now there's a ghost car just for a moment. Yinoldi. That's also Bonsai getting a 3-second time penalty for cutting a corner. You don't see that very often. It's usually exceeding track limit warning limits. But no, full-on corner cut. I think that may have been some sort of spin or something. It's just given them that penalty. There is a move from Edveer, but Sulkin is very close to the car ahead. They drop back slightly. Is PJ going to feel the need to go for a move? Well, no. They stay behind, and you can see the experience. That's Bonsai retiring, the first retirement of the session. A shame to see that one end that way. Sulkin has a look to the inside line, and PJ is slightly left vulnerable, but not really anything more than a memory now. PJ, although not racing for a while and almost looks like as if they've joined the league new, they are the oldest driver, the original driver, the first ever LSI driver. They've got years of experience, and they're holding on in the train because they know that that's the best way to get the most out of this race with the least risk possible. It's an anticipation game. They've got a higher tier driver to fight with because the higher tier driver doesn't score the same points as them. They know because they used to be a higher tier driver themselves. Sulkin goes through, but there's contact. And that's going to be a little bit frustrating for PJ as there's a mistake, and Terence sees what's going on in front and they want to try and capitalise on that one, and they are going to do so. A shame to see it go that way, but Terence has the inside line and they are going to make that move stick. Great news for the Red Bull, but an incident nevertheless. Jericho Willis will catch up in turn and is now looking for a battle, and all of a sudden we get closer to the pit lane or the pit stop range, and we see PJ and Jericho Willis in the same team looking to make pit stops at similar times. Well, how that's going to plan out I don't quite know, but they are on different tyres, so you'd hope that their pit stop window is going to be different. DRS ERS. But no move. Oh, a big spread between P1 and P5. Verf nowhere to be seen so far. They've had a bit more of a struggle catching up to the field, and they've got a lot of work to do. Jericho Willis and PJ having a race distance as well as Sulkin yesterday, whereas Verf is doing their first Brazilian Grand Prix run today, thrown into it relative to the other higher tier drivers. Edver trying to hold on to the DRS range of Wayne, but it's Yanoldi who's going to put the pressure and give them the race that they're probably not looking for at the moment, because they need to try and score points on Frantic, who's out in P1, looking to try and crawl back that, well, I say crawl back that championship lead, get a bigger advantage as Terence is off in the background. I was just going to say, the championship leader going into this race and drawing on points after the sprint race is now all of a sudden down the order, and Terence has just lost a lot. That's Sulkin making the move into the first corner, as it's going to be PJ not able to hold on with the split of Terence being there, creating a gap. They're going to have to use Jericho Willis as a slingshot, as a stopgap to try and catch back up to the train, if that's at all possible. Frantic's made that move at a Sulkin's made that move at a perfect moment to take advantage of the gap between all the cars, as Terence is now down in P6. A big pocket of air between the drivers has changed the race completely, and now you see two teams of two running relative to one big team of four. Or five, I should say, really. Terence is going to try and hold on to the DRS range of Verf. Verf is on the equal tyre, in fairness. So Terence will get there. But nothing too much more than that. And that's Gladio making the move on Way 1 Minute, as Way 1 Minute has a mistake. Terence not in a position to overtake just right now. Would they try and have a go in a moment or so? Not quite. They stay where they are. Jericho Willis has done enough to catch up to DRS range. It's Edveer into the pit lane. It's a speeding time penalty for Way 1 Minute. It's retirement in the pit lane. But it's Edveer making that early stop onto the fresh medium. Did they start on the medium tyre? I need to have a quick look, because they did. They started on the medium tyre, so Edveer is looking for the double stop. And that's going to be an interesting one. We did see a mix of strategies yesterday, but we didn't quite see the race run all the way to the end, because we thought we might have seen some puncture territories before we got that late safety car. So is the two-stop strategy the best call this weekend, or is it going to be a one-stop? Well, Sulkin's staying out. Many cars staying out. Elwain's into the pit lane 1 lap later than Edveer. It's Gladio and Bernst as they switch positions, fighting it out. Are we going to see another switch between the two? Should we go back to look? I'm not entirely sure. We will have a quick check to see, but Gladio no, a little bit too far away, and they will just have to stay back for now. Elwain comes out of the pit lane relative to Edveer. They're very, very close, and that is going to be an undercut from Edveer. To catch up, it's going to be side by side into the corner. On the outside line, the McLaren will get there, and that is going to be their move. Lovely stuff indeed, with 1 lap older tyres, but warmer tyres as well. Elwain's not going to have really much to say about that one. Sulkin stays out. Will they dive to the pit lane and make everybody follow on? They will not, and nobody else goes into the pit lane either. They just stay behind for now. Rinaldi would be next.
Would they be making that decision to also pit? They do stay out. And then we have Ernst, followed by Gladio, who are going to be racing each other. There it is, though. Jericho Willis makes the move on Frantic into turn 4. And it's now the two higher tier drivers in P1 and P2. PJ not able to hold on to the train of cars in front. Will Frantic be able to hold on to the two higher tier drivers that are going to push each other to the limit now? These guys raced for the victory in Italy, Monza, just a few races ago. Shulkin took that one in the F1 tier. We're now in F1.5 a fair few weeks later, and we're going to get 2.0 for the duel between the two. It wasn't actually a duel in Monza, it was more of like a triple or quadruple battle, but between the two, they were the ones looking for the victory by the final lap. And there it is. Frantic goes for an earlier pit stop relative to them directly next to them, but slightly later than a few other cars. We also see an Audi into the pit lane as well, braking as late as they possibly dare. But no one else following behind. And there's Frantic leaving the pit lane. Where will they end up relative to the rest of the field? Well, we do see Gladio and Bernst ahead. They're on old tyres. It's Frantic who's going to have a little bit of traffic now. That's how it goes if you do pit a little bit too early. Edveer and Elwain fighting each other on similar tyres. But this is going to be a different kind of scenario for Frantic. They're looking for the undercut so they don't lose the higher tier drivers potentially, but now they might end up just ruin all of that undercut because they're on much fresher tyres and they've now got to try and make some overtakes, and they're going to have to make them a lot sooner rather than later because the inside line is their next opportunity. They're not going to get there in time. Slight caution for Gladio with the damage, but it wasn't really cautious enough to really give Frantic the confidence to make the move, and it's just going to be DRS instead. It'll be a more straightforward move, but it has cost them a lot of time. Terence and PJ also into the pit lane as a higher tier driver 1, 2, 3. There's the move, powering through. Will they be able to get the DRS of the car in front as well? As Bernst is going to be hunted next, and they will do so. PJ, P6, where will they come out relative to Frantic? And it is going to be pretty close in the end. DRS not available for the Austrian driver, but they will get ahead of the Ferrari crucially. And now PJ's got basically half a lap to try and catch back up to Frantic, and all of the advantage that Frantic has just gained is completely down to zero. That being said, they've made a phenomenal move. A phenomenal move! And that's going to be PJ diving to the inside line at a place that you don't usually do it, but now to the outside. They'll open up the steering with the better grip, the newer tyre, and they will make that move in a clinical way. Is it enough though? Because they might have just lost out to DRS range, and that might have just been enough by Frantic. A very good play, a risky play that has just possibly paid off. Both drivers risking it all to get through the traffic and stay with one another. The gap is slightly there still, 0.2 of a second now to 3. That's a quick Alpine in a straight line. Bounced into the pit lane as Gladio will be promoted to position over the rival that they were racing earlier on the circuit. Sulkin, relative to Frantic, is going to come out directly, I was going to say behind, but they jump in front and they get 2 laps later advantage and still stay ahead. But obviously, as we saw yesterday, all of a sudden there is a cliff, so you've got to be careful. Still going defensive is Sulkin, but Frantic backs off. Jericho Willis and Verth are going to be looking at catching a bit of a cliff on the tyre life. I think Jericho Willis said they wanted to pit 1 lap earlier than they did, but they didn't have the ability to because of their teammate. Now they've got free rein, but they still stay out on that hard tyre. Verth, surely not going to do the same thing. Surely it's the pit lane for the Sauber, and it is. Onto that medium tyre. A more classic tyre life range from previous games for Verth. relative to the rest of the field. It's going to be complicated. It's going to be Frantic catching up to Sulkin, and they go for the move on the outside line, but Sulkin stays in front. I have a feeling that Frantic might have backed off on that one, and it wasn't fully just a defence from Sulkin, because Frantic had the chance to make that move. And they have the chance again to make that move. They go side by side into the braking zone, and they do bleed in front. But with all of that, somehow PJ hasn't managed to catch up. So all drivers just saving the battery and trying to use everything they can, but they don't have any left. It's all a little bit limited at the moment. And with these tyres that they're getting to grips with, no pun intended, they are having to push all of their resource out to get the performance out the car that they need. That is Frantic breaking away all of a sudden, finding some good performance in the last half a lap, and PJ catching up. Sulkin's just all of a sudden had a drop in pace for a few moments there, and it's brought PJ back into it, and it's allowed Frantic to kind of relax temporarily, but also panic a little bit, because they've now just allowed PJ to get back into this battle. Further behind, where you see Terence, but they've got Verth and El Wayne directly behind. They switch up nicely, and Verth's going to try and catch up to the driver from Hong Kong and make that move. And then we'll see Edver and Glenio go at it. What's going to happen here? Old tyres versus fresh. I think it's going to be pretty straightforward. El Wayne will not go for a move, but Edver will surely have a look. They use everything they have left of the battery. They do move across, and they make contact with the Ferrari car in the end. I'm not entirely sure what their thought process was there on that one, but Lydio luckily didn't suffer from that in the end, and they continue on their way. Now Terence is losing this battle. The trio up front fighting each other. There it is going to be Verth making the move. El Wayne will follow, and we'll have DRS on Terence in the next straight, but Verth now makes that move, as Verth's going to hope that they can do something about it. That's going to be Frantic and Sulking switching positions once more. Jericho Willis, their tyre life is only getting worse, and as I said before, that cliff is only going to get harder, and all of a sudden you lose 3 seconds. They might, if they're lucky, slot in between Verth and PJ and then be in the battle, but if they're not, then they're going to lose a lot of ground and be in a spot of bother. The pit lane is not their call of action this time around either. We've got Jericho Willis not pitting yet, Sulkin in net P1 with Frantic for pressure behind in P2. We've got PJ, Verth, Terence, El Wayne, Edver, Yinaldi, Gledio and Bernst at the back of the pack, making that pit stop, whereas it has been Gledio staying out for as long as they possibly can, following the race leaders' attempt at a strategy that didn't look exactly that weak yesterday, and it was only getting better for them as they had the fresher tyres. We're going to see Edver and Yinaldi switch positions. DRS once again for the McLaren, and using the battery they are looking to get the move done once again, but will they have the momentum? No way on the Williams as they get to turn 4, and it is just going to stay as it is. And I'm really looking forward to what's going to go on as we see Gledio dive into the pit lane, so surely we're going to see Jericho Willis make this call for a pit stop. Those tyres look pretty maxed. They don't look as bad as I thought they would do, but they do look pretty dead. We've not got the severe blistering mark on the inside, more just a rough patch. That's a big old lock up into the front left tyre from Jericho Willis, and you can see that gap's gone from 17-18 seconds down to 14. That medium tyre that they're going to be running is going to be very, very quick, but is it going to be worth it? Are they going to run out of time, run out of laps to really gain what they need to fight for the victory by the time they get to the end of the Grand Prix. Surely they've got to do something. This battle is looming. These drivers are catching up. PJ just at the back of this, holding on to DRS for now. There it is though, Jericho Willis into the pit lane. Almost going over the speed limit as they lock all four wheels to try and slow that car down. Brand new shiny fresh tyre, and that is going to be a lot of ground lost, and I think they've played it to perfection. You know, they're just directly ahead of Verf. Verf's going to have a lot of overspeed, but I don't think they're going to be able to pressure, and that is absolutely masterful from Jericho Willis. Shine's already off that tyre. And it's going to be more about trying to get that tyre warmed up, hoping that Verf doesn't try and fight, and then catching back that gap that they have just sacrificed for this fresher tyre. You get one thing, but you have to have the caveat of the other. There's always a disadvantage to a strategy. It's just whether you can utilise the advantage side of it. Frantic looks to the inside line of Sulkin, and they're going to break side by side, and that's not going to be ideal. Very close margins for Sulkin, not leaving much room at all, but at the same time Frantic didn't really show too much assertiveness into the corner, and that just kind of confused Sulkin. It allowed PJ to relax slightly as these guys just try and figure out their race. In the background, can you see Jericho Willis just coming into shot in the final moments? But they will be looking to catch corner by corner, especially in the middle sector, where it is really advantage medium tyre. We've got Verf here, we've got Terence who had their spin earlier on. Unfortunately, Yanordi and it was Edvir were fighting earlier on. Edvir's gone back into the pit lane for their second pit stop, and we're going to try and see what Edvir can do later on. Just checking in on the time penalty situation, it is a 3-second only to Edvir. But will other drivers end up with punctures, or will they be good to go to the end of the Grand Prix and Edvir's just got a little bit more hard work to do? That's what we're waiting for here for Edvir's race. Of course, they'd get promoted 3 positions because of the higher tier drivers. So P7 is what they're looking at right now in this race. Their championship rival P1 and P3. That's of course Frantic and Terence, a current tier driver, although reserve is PJ. And then we've got Elwayne, Yanaldi, Bernst, Edvir and Galedio at the back, as all the current tier drivers, the higher tier drivers, are Sulkin, Jericho Willis and Verf. Sulkin stays out, as you would do at this point in the race. 11 lap old tyres though. Is this going to take Frantic all the way to the end, or are they going to have problems? Is it going to be Verf going for the victory in the end? Sorry, not Verf, Terence. Will they have the tyre advantage as they had in previous times? That's what we saw them take advantage of in Spain, as they took their Second victory of the season, their third career victory. Oh no. Is that... I've lost count now. I want to say the second victory because they took victory in Australia and Spain, did Terence, and they've taken 2 wins previous to that, so 4 victories in their career for the driver from Hong Kong. It's a tricky one with tyres here, but I think because of the spin earlier on, it might just be a bit too complicated for Terence to have another go in this one, as we start lap 26 out of 36. Just under 11 laps remain of this Grand Prix. It's been a long one, but the tyres are really coming into it now. Jericho Willis is making that progress. PJ's just broken away, or lost, I should say, DRS range. They did open that rear wing for one final time, but is that it? Is it over now? That will allow Jericho Willis to catch up. Jericho Willis will then try and potentially help PJ catch back up to the pack, because they want to try and take victory themselves for the overall race. That's PJ just holding on to the back of the pack. Just look at Jericho Willis. They can see the cars in front of them up the hill, and every corner that they take, they're gaining significant lap time. Verve not too far away, still benefiting from DRS, but not exactly relaxing because there are a fair few tenths behind. PJ's just done enough to have DRS down the start-finish straight, but this is where it all runs out, and that rear wing will no longer open. And PJ's lost it. Jericho Willis now gets a free opportunity to catch up even more. Quick in a straight line for a moment there was PJ. I think maybe Frantic caught up to the back of Sulkin and slowed down to save some battery. That's what we probably saw happening and how we saw PJ catching up. But look at this, the gains and the corners are going to once again be monumental for Jericho Willis. 5-lap-old medium tyres, they are going to want to try and catch up sooner rather than later to give themselves a chance of actually fighting for this victory before the tyres die later on. Four tenths back, 3 tenths back and 2 tenths back. I really do think that Frantic might be trying to have a go at winning this race overall. Would the stakes be worth it? I don't know, but they might want the glory. PJ is just out of DRS range. I say that, they've just held on. And it's Jericho Willis who doesn't have it, despite being within 1 second. That's one of the most confusing sights you can see. Edvit trying to do what they can on this strategy. Elwain's also made their second pit stop as both drivers look to try and catch to Bernst and Yanoldi. The one stop though for the runners that we're watching right now. A big old train is all of a sudden bunched up as we see P1 to P5 back at it again, reunited on that 29 out of 36. They've all done their own strategies, they've all worked hard, and now they find themselves in their positions. It's PJ though, who's just lost that DRS range. That's Gladio, and that's a safety car. What happened to the Ferrari driver as they went up the hill? Did they lose their front wing? And once again, for the second evening in a row, we will not get to see what happens when you get to the end of the race on a very old tyre. We're being teased by the game. We're not allowed to see the front wing, because why would we? There it is. Unfortunately, that is a big off for Gladio. They're still back in this race. They have a chance. They don't actually need to pit yet, but they are going to, and that's going to risk them getting lapped because they will have served their pit stop. But no, they've got a 10-second time penalty. That's going to be frustrating. Sulkin's got to make that call for which tyre to use. Do they go onto the medium? Do they go on to the soft? Do they wait a lap? I don't think they can wait a lap really in P1. But they can definitely look at doing something else. PJ and Frantic are almost looking at switching positions. It's the two cars behind as they go slowly into the pit lane to avoid speeding during a safety car situation. You know what, you're getting a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car somehow. I don't know how that one's happened in the end. And that is Verf actually losing out to the ghost car situation there with the pit stops. That's going to be frustrating, but nothing too much to worry about as they actually gain a position on Jericho Willis because of the double stacking between the two teammates. It has affected their races in the end. All drivers on soft tyres. Will we see anybody go for a different compound? It's Elwayne who stays out on track. Fairly fresh medium tyres, so they're looking to try and get some track position. We're not going to be racing for a little while yet. If they pit for fresh soft tyres now, they will all of a sudden lose all the track position that they've just gained. It's Gladio once again into the pit lane. And they're going to serve their 10-second time penalty, as you can do in the pit lane, onto another fresh set of soft tyres as well. Will they get lapped? That's the question. You can't afford to get lapped in this scenario. There it is. There's the pit stop. There's the front wing as well. They're going to get lapped. And that's going to be race done. They should have waited a lap to serve that penalty. And that is going to be a tough one for Gladio. Unless they can get out ahead of the safety car. But that's going to be almost an impossible effort to do so. It isn't impossible after all. Will they get there on the pit lane exit? They're trying to break away, and they do just enough. That is one of the most incredible things I've seen in league racing. I don't know how they've managed to do that in time, but it doesn't get any closer than that to get yourself unlapped on a fresh set of tyres and go to the end of the Grand Prix with a new front wing. Whew. Wow. Well, will they be able to catch up to the back of the pack in time? I don't know. We've got lap 31 for the race leader. We have a ghost car for PJ, just for a moment. I'm not entirely sure what that was for. We have, of course, a drive-through penalty for Yinoldi. Unfortunately, they're going to have to serve just shortly after the safety car goes in, which is going to be frustrating for their race. Three seconds for Edver and Gladio alike. But lots of cars on this soft compound. Lap 31 to lap 32 out of 36. And we're probably going to be doing racing on lap 33 out of 36. So we'll have a few laps of DRS. It's going to be absolutely brutal. A late safety car sprints with just a couple of laps. It can be refreshing on occasion, but 2 nights in a row, it's too much to take. The heart can only handle so much. Well, we're going to do it anyway. A slightly longer sprint race instead. but it's going to be just as intense to watch. We will anticipate the call for the safety car to come in unless it does one more lap. That's not out of the realms of possibility. There it is though. The safety car is in. Now, bunching up, it will allow a little bit more of a gain for Gladio, but I think it's going to be a little bit too late. Sol can go at any point when they want to. Everybody bunching up massively. And Frantic just caught out a little bit as Solkin was trying to do some mind games, and closer to the line they go for the restart, crossing the line, and now will we see the Sauber go for the move? Firth dives to the inside line on PJ. Oh, they lose the car, and all of a sudden they've lost the position again. That would have been an awesome move, but they just couldn't quite hold it. The balance wasn't there, and now this battling is risking them losing the cars in front. PJ's got to focus if they want to do anything about it. Oh! And that's the McLaren on the inside line as they go for the move on Elwain, and they've got the job done. Gladio is somehow in this battle. I don't know what to say, but that's just incredible stuff. The two medium tyre runners at the back of the pack for now, but they might be able to gain something later on when the soft tyres start to wear down, especially Gladio with that fresher medium tyre, although they have just done 3 push laps to try and catch up to this pack. Solkin leads the way. Nicely done for them. Frantic really working well. Battling though for PJ has meant that they don't have that DRS. Now it's going to be enabled. They do have 2 higher tier drivers with a lot of pace in their cars to make the move and then put the pressure on the leaders once more. The inside line is there for Verf, and there's the move. And now PJ's got to hope that they can put the trust in the higher tier drivers to catch up. It's Terence and P6. Burnt's his teammate, a second lease of life in this race. There's also PJ making the move. Jericho Willis, making the move, or trying to make the move, but they didn't actually get the job done. We missed that one in the end. This battle is going to be pretty good to watch, but Terence holds on to the, I was going to say front battle, but currently Frantic and Solkin have run away with it now, and they're about to start the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix, and they're going to have to decide what's going to go on here. Is Frantic going to try and take the points for the championship, or are they going to go for the overall race victory? Verf looking to try and catch up to the top 2 himself, but PJ is not able to hold on, and Jericho Willis is going to get a free opportunity at making this overtake, with DRS not being available for his teammate directly in front, and neither is ERS. The left hand side will be their choice. The move will be gained, and a big old slingshot to catch up back to Verf will be beneficial. DRS once again enabled, as they'll get a second dose to help them catch up to that Sauber car. Now DRS available to the Aston Martin of PJ, and it brings Terence back into it quite comfortably. Everybody benefits from a slingshot unless you're the race leader, really. So you've got to watch out for that one. A battle behind Elwain and Edveer fighting for position. Nothing up the hill is going to be looking of interest, although it's not impossible in a short sprint to the end of the race, and we've now got to try and focus on the right battle because there's so much going on. The 2 leaders up front, the higher tier driver and current tier driver, Frantic, trying to win the championship this season, but also in a chance to take victory here for the Brazilian Grand Prix. We're going to get Jericho Willis making a move on Verf in the meantime, and that's a pretty straightforward manoeuvre from the Aston Martin. Is it going to be possible for them to secure it when they go to the line though? Frantic still stays behind. Are they looking to make the move on Sulkin in the final straight? Well, I don't quite know, because that is a slippery racing ball. We saw Sulkin have a very fast car in a straight line, taking victory yesterday. It's Verf in P4. They're going to be looking to try and do what couldn't be done by Egapro yesterday, and it's going to be PJ trying to hold off Terence in the end, as PJ hasn't been able to hold on, but they do also have a time penalty, unfortunately. So that's going to make it even more complicated for their race, and Terence is going to have a massive advantage. Frantic is going to be the one to watch. Can they get the job done? They're closer, looks like, than they ever were before. A big saw at the steering wheel, though, is not going to make it easy, and a bit of a delay on the throttle allows Sulkin to break away, and it's just going to be a little bit too much. Sulkin wins for the overall championship, but Frantic wins the Brazilian Grand Prix for the EU Championship. It's then Jericho Willis, Verf in P4, and then Terence goes ahead of PJ across the line, and Burns gets there. Both Red Bulls managed to benefit massively. There's Edvir, there's Gladio, and unfortunately Yonaldi, with that drive-through penalty, is all the way down at the back of the pack, but it's Frantic on top once again. A double victory for the EU Driver Championship. Frantic is going to be very pleased with their weekend today, and regaining the championship lead and a little bit more. It's Sulkin, though, taking the overall victory. It's Frantic in P2 with the fastest lap. Jericho Willis, Verf, Terence, Bernst and PJ. Then Elwain, Edvir, Yonaldi and Gladio. DNFing earlier on was Way 1 Minute and Bonsai. The race director's on your screen now, just in case if we need it, because it can be tricky sometimes. And then we'll go through the pit stop section. We'll be back for the post-race interviews. We will see you in a bit. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the post-race interviews of the Brazilian Grand Prix. I just messed something up on the settings, so that's why I'm so flustered there. I do apologise for that one. Frantic, that was one hell of a race. You win for the EU drivers. You almost had a look at taking victory for the overall race. Can you take us through it? And what were your thoughts in the final laps there?
Okay, I need to be a bit quiet, but hoo-ha, hoo-ha, let's go for the gang, for the gang. Well, I think this is my best race weekend so far in my whole LSI career, which is like 4 years now, I think. No, I think it's 4. But yeah, it was crazy. Like first, the one-shot qualifying, I made a big mistake in sector 1. I'm not sure. I think it was a new guy who almost took pole. Luckily, I was able to get it back in the last sector and second sector as well. So that was very hoo-ha. The race, the sprint itself, it was cool. I don't know where Terence and Edvir finished, so I don't know how many points I gained in that race, but it was I think it was very fantastic. Yeah, the main qualifying was also very intense. PJ is quick, considering he has like 20 hours in the game, I believe. So that's actually crazy. But
well,
I managed.
If you've got a 4-year career in LSI, he's got 7, 6 or 7. So,
6, 7. Wait, no.
6, 7. So yeah, he's quick for a reason, you know. He is quick for a reason. Sorry, Karen.
I mean, no, that's fair enough. It's a good point. Well, I was kind of scared I was gonna finish the qualifying in like P6 or 7, something like that. But luckily it was pole. Yeah, the race itself was also very intense. Like I'm sweating so much right now. Like every lap I had to focus. Normally I drive the first few laps with full focus, and then I just start daydreaming because it's not that interesting, because sometimes like the front runners are too far up and I just can't catch up. But this time I was just like full hyper focus. Very awesome. So I felt one with the car. And yeah, well, I managed to get P2 on track, which is P1 for my tier. I don't think I've managed to get a win on track this season, so maybe in Jeddah, who knows?
Yeah, for sure. I look forward to that one. Thank you very much, Frantic. Really good effort today, and we'll see you on the top step next time.
Yep, appreciate it.
And we move on to Jericho Willis. Jericho, that was one hell of a race. Of course, it always is when you're a high-tier driver and you've got to start at the back of the pack making those moves. But can you take us through it? Because it can't have been easy.
No, it wasn't easy. The start of the sprint race was total chaos, and you know, I dodged somebody, bumped somebody, then got off my line, messed up the first corner. It was a disaster. And so in the main race, I just wanted to start on the hard tire, kind of take it easy, and just methodically pick through people so I didn't cause any problems for the current drivers. So that was the goal. Hard to medium is not really the best strategy around here, but I figured I'd have some fun with it for my last race for a while. And it was fun. You know, it was kind of picking your way through is always fun. And then the pace later on the hard tire was pretty good. I was watching the other guys to see when they started to close in. It's hard because, you know, the medium's not going to last in the end. So it's really hard to come in when you kind of feel the tire falling off. You almost know, you know, this is not going to be as bad of a cliff as the medium will be later on in the race. So I'll, you know, take it now and see what happens. And I think that worked out pretty good. Unfortunately, it was a replay of yesterday, which is you patiently take care of the tires and track down the leaders, and then as soon as you catch them, you get a safety car and it ruins your strategy. So that's, I mean, I rewatched some of yesterday and I realized just how bad that was, you know. Having 3 lap better tires than everybody in front of me, and slowly but surely taking care of the tires, closing up on everybody, waiting for the last stint, and then it's just gone. And same thing today. Was a little different today. I mean, when I first caught them, I would have had way more tire, but by the time we battled for a few laps, it might not have been quite so easy, but we'll never know. Then had to double stack the pit stops because I was behind PJ on the same team, so that cost me a position with Verth and cost me a chance at battling the leaders. Unfortunately, because they kind of pulled away, and then it was just a battle between Verth and I to the end. And so that was fun to battle with him. I had the advantage of racing yesterday, so probably a little bit more in a groove on that track than he was with not racing yesterday. So it was a good race with him, and it was fun to kind of pick my way through and get back to a podium. But unfortunate yesterday and today. I think there was definitely a chance for a win on both days. Yesterday, I don't think I would have battled for the win even if I was up front, but it would have been a McLaren 1-2, I think. And then today, I think it would have been another battle for the win that was gone. So that was unfortunate, but there was a lot of fun had today, and so I'll take that with me for the next few weeks while I'm away.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the strategy, you did the right thing both times. It just wasn't your way in the end, unfortunately. I ask this question to a few people every season just to see what their reaction is. Are you a driver that would now like no safety car to be enabled in racing because of the luck that you've had?
I think that's where I'm sitting right now. That's probably a fairly obvious yes. I would love there to be no safety car because, when you think about it, this is the way it is in real life too. It's just not as common because safety cars happen more often in sim racing because there's less to risk when you push like crazy every lap. You're bound to have an issue, but in real life it costs people positions, and it's the same kind of thing here. But from where I sit now, yeah, I'd love to have that safety car gone. Especially with the weird issue yesterday, it wasn't even just. It wasn't even just the safety car. The safety car put basically a limiter on me to hold me 0.8 back during the restart. So I didn't even have a chance to battle. So it's like, if the game had multiple issues, and I know you mentioned that you thought that you contributed to that, but that's still that's a glitch in the game. It's not, you should be able to do that on your end, and the game should be able to handle it. So yeah, maybe it's something to look at. If it seems to be negatively affecting races on a regular basis and people aren't very happy with it. But there's always two sides to it. There's the guy who lost out, and then there's the guy who benefited. So the guy who benefited is like, yeah, great safety car, perfect time. I was hoping for it, kind of playing my race around it being possible. And then they take advantage of it. And the other guy's saying, you know what, I plan my race around no safety car, and then it cost me the chance of a win. So that's just the way it is.
Yeah, it's tough. But thank you very much, and really well said. We'll see you next time when you do next race, and hopefully you can have a bit more fortune. Thank you very much, Erica.
Thank you.
And we move on to PJ. PJ, that was one hell of a race.
Yeah.
Not the way you wanted it to end, I know, but are you still happy with the performance?
Yeah, considering the time I've spent on this game, I'm pretty happy. I was surprised that I qualified P2 in both qualies. First time for a long time that I was in the first row. And even if I'm not a good qualifier, but through the races I had the pace, but I still don't have the game knowledge or the ERS management that I can really battle. So I had always problems at the end of the straight, and yeah, I had in both races I had one time penalty which cost me some places, but through the race it was just good pace, just the racecraft not there yet.
Yeah, that's something that will come in with experience per game. I think you said that already yourself, and hopefully you have the time to be able to understand that more and get that up to scratch, because then you'll be absolutely flying. It was a pleasure to see you race today up the front, and you gave us a good show, so thank you very much. I know it's not the way you wanted it by the time you crossed the line, but you did do a very good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
We move on to the final one. It's Sulkin. I think it's fair to say, even if it's a lower tier, if you take the double victory in one weekend, you are the king of the circuit. You're the king of Brazil today. Can you take us through that race? Because it was a pretty difficult one all the way up to the end.
Yeah, the start was like, I felt it was good after, like, I'm a higher tier. I got to start at the back. But there was some carnage into turn one, like it's always has been in the LSI. But I felt like it was very good from the start. I didn't lack the pace I thought I did, but I had good pace throughout the race. And when we got to like the second stint, I felt like I gained 2 seconds or so on Jericho on the laps, and I was content with that pace. And Frantic was a really good driver to stay in my DRS for so long, and even sometimes caught me lacking with some bad braking points and stuff. So he was really fast today. He deserved the LSI F1.5 win. And just felt like it was good. It was, of course, hard to overtake so many drivers from P12 to the first corner. It was, of course, quite many overtakes. I think it was like 5 or 6. So I think there was a lot of good battles around there. I really like the track, as you say, maybe the king, but I don't consider myself that. I just consider myself lucky. We all know the issue Heinz had yesterday, and he could probably win over me in the F1. So yeah, happy with the pace today.
Yeah, well said, and yeah, you deserve it regardless of what happened to others. If you're there, you're there. If you get yourself in the position to win, you get yourself in the position to win, and you win it. So well done. Be proud of that. Thank you very much, Sulkin. Really good job today, and we'll see you next time.
Yep, see you.
And that's been it for the post-race interviews. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure. We will see you next weekend for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. I can't wait for that one. It's going to be absolutely amazing. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.